Hello, everybody, and welcome back to LSL 25. Of course, once again, it is me, NM, joined by a new face being Fusion, as we are here, the first round of the gold bracket being Aquamarine versus Arrows of Fire, starting out on Rainmaker Undertow. How are you feeling, Fusion?
Pretty good. Somehow this feels familiar. There's been a couple of technical difficulties going on, so if you couldn't hear us, we're now alive. We had a very nice discussion about how LSL is very exciting to watch, and was talking about roller popping off earlier. We talked about the different routes on Undertow Spillway, both being left and right. The left being, safer but longer, and the right being quicker and definitely more dangerous. But we should all be live now. All these issues are behind us. So, how are you doing now?
I am, of course, doing well. Again, still pretty excited to see both of these teams and what they're going to be able to play here. As I was also saying earlier, before we found out we were muted, but these comps, I am expecting to be pretty experimental that we're in the low-level setting. I've seen in low-level tournaments that they're more likely to experiment with what they want to do, go more off-meta. We saw in that last set, we saw a not Hydra comp pop off and do really well. And we've seen some other stuff get played here too that you wouldn't necessarily see in top play. But here, they're playing it and they're actually making it work. So I definitely want to see more comps like that coming out from these teams.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of roll with whatever you feel most comfortable with for a long time in competitive. Yeah, like we were talking about, Undertow Spillway is the first map of this set. So how do you feel about this map in general? Do you like it? How do you feel about, it balance-wise? What might be good on it? What are your thoughts?
In general, this thing is, it's a mess. I'm sorry, Bowser, if you're watching this. I know you love the thing, but I don't. It's definitely blatant to see in splat zones and a little in tower control its problems. But as I put it before, it's like they put two hallways, very small hallways from a school together, and they shaved off that wall halfway through. And there's Undertow. And they got little perches. I feel like it works on Rainmaker. Rainmaker is its best mode, I feel like, especially because of where you're pushing the Rainmaker. You're not necessarily going to be in mid all too often, and when you are, it's going to be pretty quick. The mid is the main problem, but of course, not being there all too often definitely helps Rainmaker out.
I think this is a good map, a really good map in general. I don't necessarily love it on tower, but I think the other modes are... This is like a favoritive map. It favors blasters and machine and stuff, obviously, but I think it does so in a way where it doesn't kind of completely limit other play styles. It's still a pain in the butt to get through that middle of the map, don't get me wrong, but there's certainly a lot of things that can work on this map. So I'm a fan of this map existing at the very least.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from there. Some weapons definitely have more of an advantage in this map than others, though really anything could necessarily work on this map. I feel like it could be better maybe if we get in a future update, we could still see some maps getting reworked in a sort of sense. Undertow definitely feels like maybe a good contender for that. I feel like if it does get some changes, it could be pretty well to see it work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've already talked quite a bit about this map, but I think the push on the right side. So if you guys could see it, it's which way is it? Or there we go.
It's down
there, the bottom left corner of that screen there. Yeah, of that image. That's where the first checkpoint pedestal is. That's a really good place to go. If you get a quick wipeout, you want the checkpoint for quick, easy points. And you could dunk it there and then even decide that you want to go left. The routes aren't even that far apart, so easy way to make up your mind. It's also, if you take it the other way, opt to go left, that first checkpoint will probably be a little bit more difficult, but but you can still, it's probably easier to get more points after that.
Yeah, no, it's easier to get points mainly on that left route. Of course, pushing in, it's gonna be really easy to push in because, of course, that left route is farther away from the enemy spawn, which is definitely a problem that some people feel with like certain tower control maps. They don't like it going necessarily away from the spawn, which gives the opposing team a disadvantage. But that still gives you an advantage to take it on those routes, which is what that left is. It does take longer, but in the long run, it's gonna help you out more. It's very situational for that right route because you definitely have to get like a wipeout on the opposing team. If you want to push it fairly from there, you just got to really have that oppression, have that killing power in order to make sure that they're gone. That's what the problem is with that right route, and why people generally prefer the left route as of right now.
I think I've only ever seen one successful push go through that right side the entire way to the basket, and you need to get like 2 or 3 team wipes in a row because you need to push literally directly next to their spawn.
Yeah,
compared to the other way, where like like compared to the other way, if you drop a bubble or you have like a reef slider, which even undercover can do a really good job, so could arrow spray. Those are both things that could do a lot of work on that slick area.
The reef slider is definitely good, and of course a really popular choice for that right now is Tetras. We haven't seen it so far yet in LSL, but who knows, we might see the Tetras here. Safe to say.
Yeah, I mean, anything goes. Like you said, the team comps could be varied, as we will see.
It's all basically just a matter of time. I mean, I have seen some matches, not in LSL, but in that Splat University tournament homecoming, I did see an undercover get played and win on Splat Zone's Wahoo, actually. That was honestly really surprising to see, but I had a good time commentating that because, of course, you don't expect undercover nowadays. Even in a setting like this, you don't expect undercover.
Yeah, you know, I think one of the big things that's people have not been liking about undercover is that it neither has the damage nor the movement to kind of keep up with people. Like something like Tetras could reef slider in and chase people down. Something like arrow spray could reef slider in and fizzy people to like chip damage them, whereas undercover doesn't really have the ability to do that like after reef slider, so the kit doesn't necessarily do that much for it. It's also, you know, right now it's not a great panic special. It's not the fastest thing in the universe, but things may change because our first big balance patch is less than a month away at this point.
Yeah, I feel like we could get a good amount of weapons be put into that balance patch. I kind of ran the numbers. It could be wrong because I reran them and then I thought about them again. But we could see in a range per update 15 to 20 weapons because we're going to be getting, I think 8 in total, if I'm correct, because, you know, 2 years each season. But we are getting into the match here. We're seeing a Zap. This is the first time we're seeing actually a tactical weapon come out of here. And a Sploosh. That's new.
I like that pick. Fairly normal comps coming in on both sides. Of course, ends up being a really solid pick on Rainmaker for that cooler. Those quick respawns are extremely valuable. But like you said, that Sploosh is really interesting. Incredible kit on it, at least for aggressive purposes. I think Ultra Stamp is one of those things that's people are a bit unsure about at the moment. You need to make some big plays with it, but it's also very difficult to use. Already, we can see one of the teams is running away with a Rainmaker over on that left side and is going to easily dunk it into that first checkpoint. That was Arrows of Fire.
Yeah, no, you saw that nobody was watching the junior. Nobody's watching that left side, which allowed the junior to just put the Rainmaker very easily as they take the other junior down, but not before being taken down by the Zap. Getting the Tacticooler out, allowing Batty with that Rainmaker being able to push a little bit faster. But here comes the Ultra Stamp coming out. Can they get the pick? They did get a pick on the junior, but not on that Rainmaker, though.
Yeah, it's a weird looking Trizuka. They do manage to get a pick with that and help their team stabilize a little bit in the middle of the map. Aquamarine still doing their best to hold on to that Rainmaker. And so, you need to be careful. Don't blow up your teammates. Oh no! They go up in flames. Arrows of Fire sets them ablaze. And I just realized we got Arrows of Fire as the Fire Red, and we've got Aquamarine as the Aquamarine team. Pretty incredible.
Yeah, that is perfect color play there. But as we see, the splat bombs did not do those two any favor, but they're distracted once again as the E-leader, they get the dunk! What? How?
Oh my gosh.
As you saw there, the problem was Aquamarine just kept having their eyes off of the Rainmaker, allowing the Rainmaker to just easily push in and get checkpoints, get points, and get the lead without any sort of contest.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like after that first push, Aquamarine should have been a little bit more keen on defending that side of the map, because the Rainmaker just made a run for it over on that left side, and they continued to drop on the opposite one. There's plenty of ways to defend it. You just need to stay closer to your spawn for a little bit longer in that opportunity. So unfortunately, they ended up dropping into mid or going too far left, and Arrows of Fire did a really great job on their awareness. They realized that they had the opportunity to grab it and make a run for it, and once you drop on this map, it's really hard to get back up.
Yeah, no, especially with how Arrows of Fire was playing. Another thing that might have hurt Aquamarine is how I saw they picked up the Rainmaker just as the Junior got picked off for that checkpoint. But the problem is when trying to push up, they didn't really push up. They were in that retreating stage, which is why the Rainmaker got popped so quick, why they exploded so quickly, because they got the Rainmaker, but they didn't push up enough into mid. So the counter was just going down rapidly over and over. It wasn't doing them any favors, and in the end, it pretty much was just worthless.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of what kind of put them on the back foot a bit is grabbing the Rainmaker, moving forward with it, and then blowing up, unfortunately, hitting their teammate. That might be an opportunity where leaving it and letting it reset may have been a better option, because when you grab the Rainmaker, you're not only making one of your teammates like more vulnerable, and so if that teammate goes down, things get bad quickly, but you're also taking away one of the main weapons on your team for the most part. Rainmaker is still a powerful weapon, but it might not be the best if you're trying to, get back the middle of the map as quickly as possible.
Yeah, no, that might not be the best option for what you want to do. In that sort of scenario, as you said, you just want to pop it and make sure you leave it behind so it gets reset. But as we were talking, we were about to see the comps come out from either team for Clemblitz, Mako having the Splash, Junior, Machine, and Leader on one side. And no more Sploosh, instead going for that Splash on the side of Arrows of Fire. As we are seeing both teams actually pulling out a Splash, and they really want that Crab Tank. And something I've noticed that's interesting here is that the Machine has Respawn Punisher.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty interesting idea coming out from Aquamarine. I think, with the Respawn Punisher, you want to put it on some weapons that try and stay alive and still get picks, so something like a backline, but I think also chip damage weapons can make a lot of use out of that. But already, things looking a little bit different this game, as Aquamarine off to a much more commanding start as well. And as I say that, so many trades going out in the middle of the map, and Arrows of Fire just rebounding quickly. So Aquamarine managed to win the first fight, but immediately went back down to that Respawn Punisher E-Leader on Arrows of Fire.
Yeah, no, there was just an absolute bloodbath in mid. In the end, the Arrows of Fire were able to get that advantage, and is now trying to push in with that Super Clam, but can't really find an opening, as we see the E-Leaders just trying to stay back. But the Machine is going to go down. Of course, that Respawn Punisher is not going to do it any favors. Two down the side of Aquamarine. This is their time to push it in. Pretty sure, yes, they did get two Super Clams in there, and now they're just getting in as many clams as possible as Chori and Epi are going on that left side. Takes out the Machine again. Takes out the Junior. The other Junior coming in with some more Super Clams. It's just a Splash left alive. It's just now picking off Chori as they are trying to push back in, as Ego and the Junior are just pushing in with more clams. They're down to 12. They're already down to 12.
Oh, and Ego's trying to sneak in the last few. They get a couple more in mid, but they don't take them out. But another member of Arrows of Fire manages to sneak in through mid and finish it off. Really big push, and that all started with a couple members of Arrows of Fire flanking around that right side and clearing out Aquamarine from under the basket.
as we saw there, it was just really quick. They got that initial push. They got those two super clams in from there. They just kept applying pressure onto the enemy team, along with just back and forth getting clams over and over, pretty much having a little bit of a clam train going on. And that's when ultimately got them the knockout there.
Yeah, really well played to them. Unfortunately, it felt like Aquamarine just couldn't quite get their footing. But
no.
still, they it felt like they had opportunities and they just weren't quite able to stabilize. But nonetheless, well played to both sides. But Arrows of Fire will be the ones moving on to the next round.
They'll be moving on to round 2 in just a little bit.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think we are going to head to a very quick break, and we will be right back. Stay tuned.